Aaron Nesmith agrees to a 2-year extension. Benn Mathurin does not get his extension done by the 5 o'clock deadline. Kam Jones was arrested in the morning and led the police on a little bit of a chase. And Jeremiah Johnson joins us for a lengthy conversation about the Indiana Pacers. This is a loaded episode. Buckle up, Pacer Nation. You don't want to miss it. Let's get to it. What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast. And Facci, we had some breaking news while we're recording this interview with Jeremiah Johnson. It looks like Aaron Nesmith is going to be on the Pacers a little bit longer.
And I love every second of it. Look, JJ was in the midst of a story. And we got to cut you off now. We got a major update. Aaron Nesmith with the 2-year extension. The Pacers giving him 2 years, $40.4 million extension. Takes him through 2028-2029 season. A trade kicker. You know, when the Pacers throw in a trade kicker, they ain't looking to make a trade. I feel like this is, the utmost security they could have given Aaron Nesmith, because it's also the max amount of salary they were allowed to include in this extension. That shows they value Aaron Nesmith. He's going to be here for the long term. And this picks up the vibes very much as you go into the regular season, knowing that, hey, this is one thing to check off the box right before the deadline of it being approaching.
I hope Aaron Nesmith retires as a Pacer. That's how much I love this guy. I love the way that he plays. He embodies what this team is all about. He shoots the ball well from three. He's gotten better every single season. He's a dog, Facci. He is an absolute dog, a bona fide killer, okay? This is somebody you want on your roster, and this is somebody teams are going to be asking for in trades whenever the Pacers do go to make trades. I think they would be absolutely asinine to move off of him, and we've talked about, do they need to find a long-term spot at the small forward position? We've heard the front office say, Aaron Nesmith is a bit undersized. He's only 6'5", but you can't measure the heart of a player that is like Aaron Nesmith. He is unmeasurable, Facci. This guy plays with the heart of a giant out there at the small forward position, and I am just so happy that the Pacers were able to get this done, because we thought maybe this wasn't going to get done. We talked about it with JJ actually in the podcast, like, hey, no deal with Nesmith, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, boom, here we go. The extension comes through, and we had to talk about it in live action, so I think you guys are going to enjoy that. But could not go without recording an intro talking about this, because Aaron Nesmith, to me, is clearly one of your top 3 players on this current roster moving forward, not including Tyrese Halliburton, of what you need and like what is important to this team and what is going to help them get to the next level. We saw it in the playoffs last year. We saw it in the playoffs before. He's a special player.
He really is. Glue guy, essential, whatever you want to call him. What he is to the Pacers is so important. This man impacts winning. Every team in the league would love one, if not many, Aaron Nesmiths, but they just do not grow on trees. And I think that this is a player that I'm really happy is here to be long-term with this team. So they've done a really good job locking up a lot of players. Obviously, we know Turner got away, and Mathurin, the deadline passed on that, so that's going to roll over into next year and at least restricted free agency. But I'm happy the Pacers at least got a deal done. That makes me feel really good, because Aaron Nesmith is poised for a very big year. And I think that's great. The Pacers show they very much value him. And I think the second they included a trade kicker, to me, for people that have criticized this team about nickel and diming, I don't think they're going to want to trade him and have to pay him more money on top of that. So to me, that feels like he's going to be here long term, and not, hey, this will buy them a year and then they'll figure this out. To me, it feels like, they're in it for the long run.
I mean, he's making around $11 million, so he's pretty much doubling his salary, Facci. So it's like, you might think he's worth more like 22, 23, 24, but like,
this is fantastic.
It's a massive upgrade for him. And so that's great news. October 20th has not notoriously been a great day for Pacers news. As we found out this morning, Kam Jones, rookie for the Pacers, was arrested after a brief police chase in Indianapolis. We do have to touch on this quickly. Don't want to spend too much time on it, Facci, but just not a good look for your rookie who's been out for a little bit of time here with an injury. Someone the Pacers obviously invested in, because they did trade up in the second round to go get him, and now all of a sudden hasn't been able to play, and then does something like this. A little bit of a bonehead decision by him to not just pull over when getting, chased down by the police or whatever you want to call it. So just not being pulled over when asked to be pulled over, resisting arrest, things like that. But young kid, 23 years old, I believe. I think this is a learning opportunity for him.
Really is touchy subject. We don't know all of the ins and outs and details. Innocent before, until proven guilty. Whatever sayings you want to throw out there, let's give the man the benefit of the doubt until we
Yeah,
get all the facts. I think we've seen some people have some harsh, reactions. Cut the guy, this, all that.
a lot of overreactions by
A
Pacer
lot of
Nation.
overreactions. I just think that he's young, made a mistake, probably panicked in the moment. We don't even know what the extent of this police chase really was. Could that have been 500 feet? Could it have been a little more? Who knows? We just don't know. Let's wait and see. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He made a mistake. Hopefully, he can learn from it. I think as a second round pick for someone who's on a contract that is, not really, it's only partially guaranteed. It was a very
Partial guarantee next year.
Exactly. So it's partially guaranteed in year 2 out of 4. So I think for Kam Jones, it shows that hopefully this is a humbling moment that says, hey, you got to get it together, get healthy, do your best, work hard, and let your play do the speaking for you rather than anything that comes off the court.
I mean, the Pacers pride themselves on having a clean-cut roster, and they've done a really good job of kind of eliminating all of that stuff. I know we mentioned off air, you talked about Tyreek Evans to me and just like what he went through in terms of like the drug abuse and things like that with the NBA and violating those rules. And then there was obviously some stuff where he was missing practice or late to practice, and Nate McMillan had to personally suspend him and things like that. So, we're not talking about somebody like that. We're talking about a young kid that made a mistake. And I think if I was 23 years old and I was about to get pulled over for doing something and I'm a member of the Pacers, and maybe there's other stuff in there that I don't want them to know about, I might have ran from the police too, just overthinking it. I don't know. I mean, put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's just hard to think about. But at the end of the day, he made a mistake. Let's give him grace. Let's give him some mercy. Let's not overreact to this any more than we already have, and realize this is kind of strike one. He doesn't really have any other marks against him, so don't overthink. And if he does this and becomes a repeat offender of doing stuff like this off the court, it'll obviously lead to his dismissal from the team. There's no doubt about that. They don't put up with that. This is a no nonsense organization, but I do think this is an organization that believes in grace, and I think they're going to have a hard conversation with him. Maybe they'll fine him. Maybe they'll suspend him. I don't know exactly, but like you said before, Facci, this is a great learning experience for a young player.
I just think some lessons are unfortunately learned hard. Thank God nobody got hurt. Like you're 90 miles per hour and about a 50, I believe, is what was reported. That's dangerous. Anyone could have gotten hurt. Luckily, nobody did. I think that's a blessing in disguise, or whatever you want to say with that. So at the same point, hey, let's move on. Let's hope that he moves on. The organization's able to move on, but also nonetheless, like we said, learn from it. Second chances are given. Third chances, a little bit harder to come by, especially as a rookie second round pick. That tends to be a bit of a shorter leash than maybe a franchise player, someone who is under a long-term contract, maybe a first-round pick, anything of the sort. As a second-round pick, you're fighting for your NBA career, honestly, every single day. And I think that right now his career hasn't got off to the best start, but he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Absolutely, Patch. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Jeremiah Johnson for a lengthy conversation where you might get some singing from JJ at the very end of the podcast. You guys are not going to want to miss this interview and our live reaction to the Nesmith news. We'll be right back after this. Joining us now on Setting the Pace, he is your sideline host for FanDuel Sports Network for the Indiana Pacers. It is Jeremiah Johnson. JJ, welcome back to the show. How's it going? Hope you enjoyed your offseason.
Alex, Facci, where have you been all my summer? I was waiting by my Twitter account, waiting for an invitation. I thought you forgot about me, but it must be the opening week if I'm back on Setting the Pace.
That it is. It really does feel like basketball is right around the corner when we got you back on the show. And look, you could say it's been a short off season or a long off season, depending on if you're a glass half full, glass half empty type of guy. But JJ, I'm excited to have you back, and basketball right around the corner, man, it feels good.
It does feel good. I've been a lot of people have said, "Oh, you didn't have as much time off this off season." I felt like probably when it was media day, maybe it snuck up on me a little bit, but now it's been about 3 weeks of kind of seeing him practice, seeing the preseason games. I'll admit, getting to this week, I am ready for the season to tip off. I'm even looking ahead to some of the games in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and obviously looking forward to opening night. So I don't know whether it was enough time, not enough time. All I know is it's here, and could not be happier.
I know it's going to be sad news to talk about, but can we talk about how FanDuel is no longer doing the loft for Pacers pregame, postgame, and that everything will be on the court this year.
Well, I probably shouldn't say publicly that it's sad news. I mean, I did have a lot of good experiences and a lot of good memories, and I thought of the sets that teams had in arenas, we had one of the best locations. I mean, a lot of times when we go on the road, we'll see another team set. It'll just be plop a table in the concourse, and you see a few fans that kind of hover around the set and stick their hands in the air. But the vantage point that we had, I thought was pretty good, in that it showed off the building. You saw the fans, but then, you still didn't have that, just crazy people just holding hands in the air to be on TV. That being said, it's sort of across the board. One of the new initiatives of the FanDuel Sports Network and the teams that are on that regional sports network is they really want to embrace showing the fans the court, showing the warm-ups, being, there in the building on the court. And you saw it with some of the teams that had baseball in the summer. You saw some of the studios went away, and you saw, I know the Reds, I watched some in the summer, that their pre- and post-game show host and analyst were traveling more, which we've always done our road games that way. So it's not going to be a big change for us on the road, but it will look different at home. We will be coming to you from the court at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and then post-game as well. There's always some dynamics. It's a little bit of inside baseball here for too much information than the average person needs to know. But when we're on the court for post-game shows, in some arenas, those courts are being changed over to hockey or to something else, and we're still standing there trying to do a post-game show. Sometimes cables get pulled, so hopefully that doesn't happen for the home games. But yes, you will have a little different look. And I did want to tell everyone, if you're coming down the escalator at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, many of you like to look over and wave to Eddie and I and say something or whatever. You're not going to see anything there. Don't be alarmed. We're still on TV.
A little bit of a different look for this Pacers team as well. I mean, JJ, we're going into this regular season. Obviously, we know no Tyrese Haliburton. Obviously, Turner's not on the roster, but it's some of the other injuries that we've suffered throughout this preseason that kind of has the depth looking a little bit differently. JJ, how are you feeling about this point guard situation going into the regular season, knowing that you brought in a carousel of veteran point guards, and unfortunately, none of them worked out?
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. When TJ McConnell walked off the court in Minnesota, I didn't have a great feeling. And when they said it was hamstring, and someone hit me back on Twitter when I posted the injury report that said sore, hamstring, they said that has to be good news, right? I'm like, anything that's hamstring isn't good news to me. And then where he's at in his career, you got to be really careful. So that's going to be a big loss, and it'll be tough in those first couple of weeks and month, or however long he's out. The third point guard situation wouldn't be as big of a deal if you had TJ. So then the third point guard becomes the second point guard. There's a couple of guys I'm really watching to do some ball handling, and it's different now probably than it would have been, 5 years ago, longer, in terms of you can play with a Ben Shepherd as your primary ball handler. You can have maybe Pascal Siakam, when Andrew Nembhard's not on the court, maybe he's kind of initiating some offense. Talon Peter got some opportunities in the last preseason game. He's a guard. He's never probably been a point guard, so that's a big ask for someone, especially where he's come from and where he's drafted. We'll just have to wait and see. And a lot of people, if they're asking me what I think, we're going to all learn together. But the main thing to me is take care of Andrew Nembhard at all costs, because that's what I don't really want to think about. And I remember back to last season, and so many people remember 10 and 15 as just a number. But a big reason that happened was Andrew Nembhard was hurt and Aaron Nesmith was hurt. And those two guys hurt you defensively, but you need Andrew Nembhard at this point. You need him to play about 75 games this season. So you got to be careful with his defensive assignments. You can't also tell him to go out there and play Tom Thibodeau-style minutes. You can't say go play 39 or 40 minutes. You still got to be smart. And that's where you're going to have to trust some guys that you haven't seen be the point guard and kind of see what happens. And it'll be a little bit of an adjustment. And that's where you trust the veteran coaching staff that the Pacers have to figure it out.
Well, they decided to cut Cameron Payne, and obviously Quentin Jackson is out with a hamstring injury as well. So we saw in the Friday night preseason game against the Spurs in the first half, the Pacers went with Talon Peter as their backup point guard. So I'm curious your thoughts on how Talon has just kind of gotten this big opportunity and maximized it the most that he can as a rookie that nobody really expected out of Liberty. And what have you thought about how he's meshed with this group?
One of the things that I noticed even before they tried to give him or gave him some of that point guard opportunity is how well he's fit in. Surprised me in that when he's been out there, you haven't noticed any drop off or difference from the guys at least on the court with him. I know in some of those preseason games, the bench number is not nearly as good as the starting number. So I admit being still concerned with that group as a whole, but I don't think it's anything that when they struggled, you can't say they had a weak link in Talon Peter. And the one thing that I did have a little bit of a concern with going into the season from a specific statistic or part of the game was 3-point shooting. And he's confident and he can shoot. And so you can make a case that they're going to just, find opportunities for him to be on the court. Now, I don't think they expected or even, thought it would be as the point guard. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's already a success story for where he came from. Listen, he was mostly off the bench, right, at Liberty. Mm-hmm. So if you're not even starting at Liberty and you get drafted, that's already, beating the odds. And then you think a two-way player in a perfect world, you're kind of in a Johnny Furphy role from a year ago, right? You play him some mop-up minutes, you get him real experience with the Noblesville Boom, and then maybe by year 2, you're ready to go. I don't know. I mean, right now, to me, he's going to get 15 minutes on Thursday night against the team that just won the NBA championship. I mean, I don't know how he's not, given the rest of the injury situation. We don't know about Quentin Jackson right now. And, there are some other question marks as well. So I'm expecting him to play, and I like what I see. Other than that, I can't say I have I can say without a doubt it's going to go amazing. You got to have some patience. It's almost like my concern is some of those with a quarterback that gets drafted high, throw him in there too early, and it kind of messes with them. I hope that he can just play well enough that confidence is not shaken, and then use it as a great experience.
I really love what I've seen from him. I just feel like he, just time and time again was the player that impressed me more often to say, wow, he is better than I thought he was. But you talked about beating the odds. Tony Bradley, a guy that I felt like everybody counted out, found a way to survive, stay on the team, and now the Pacers are, rostering 4 centers, something that's a pretty uncommon move. I really don't think each center really, separated themselves from each other enough, but here we are. It's a center by committee type of scenario that we thought it might be, but this time it's 4 centers instead of potentially 3. What are some of your takeaways from this center group as we head into the regular season?
Kind of a wait and see approach and attitude. And we're recording this on Monday night. Not sure when you're releasing to the viewers. I mean, I don't know for sure this is how it'll be on Thursday night. It would stand to reason probably, but with his contract situation, if they have to make a move, you don't want him to be too comfortable, and he won't approach it that way. I mean, he'll work as hard as he possibly can. And one of the things he does in terms of being a rebounder and a veteran presence, that gives the Rick Carlisle and that coaching staff, I feel like, a lot of confidence. To me, there are some parallels with the current, third point guard position as last year in that third center position. I mean, when you lost Wiseman and Jackson, you were really in a tough spot, or even that was, I guess, backup center, right? I mean, at that point, you had to find someone to get you minutes, and you had, Moses Brown, you had Thomas Bryant came in, you brought in Bradley, so he became the third center, but you weren't really sure in what you had and what you needed in the middle of that year, so it was a little bit of trial and error, and I feel like that's what you're getting a little bit with the point guard right now. As a group, you just hope that they can each do what they do well, and really you need Isaiah Jackson to be the Isaiah Jackson that you saw maybe going into last season, because I had a lot of confidence in what he could provide off the bench. He got hurt. Seems like you wouldn't know by watching him that he had the injury. I mean, I'm going to need to see him go jump up and catch a ball near the top of the square and throw it down to see that full level of athleticism. But he's not a stretch option. And that's what you've had a lot of times with Myles Turner as a starting center. So how do they adapt with the way they play by not having a true stretch five? And then can you get Jay Huff to provide some minutes in that situation? The first two questions you all asked are the questions that are true question marks entering this year. It's the point guard depth and the center position. And even though you had training camp and 4 preseason games, Facci, I don't know that I've got all the answers.
I don't think we have any answers, JJ. That's the problem. We're still just sitting here like, okay, we've been talking about this for 2 weeks, and what's the conclusion? And, they cut the other point guard they had that was healthy because he wasn't a good fit. And then you look and you have 4 centers, and Rick Carlisle's not committing to anybody. And I see him at practice on Sunday working with Isaiah Jackson on a shot for about 20, 25 minutes. And I'm just like, okay, this is going to be an interesting year of player development. I know Rick loves the challenge, but I will say the players that we are a little bit more familiar with, the Benn Mathurins, Andrew Nembhard, Pascal Siakam, and Aaron Nesmith, that group in the starting 5 right there, they played pretty well in preseason and they played well together. So I think if you're looking for something positive, that is a way you can kind of turn all the negative into a positive is what they've been doing. But when you look at Benn Mathurin, obviously today does not agree to a rookie extension with the Pacers. What do you think this year could mean for him specifically, knowing he's got that contract potentially waiting for him in the offseason and a big opportunity here to start?
I don't actually, a lot of people will say, oh, it's a contract year. It'll be a prove it year. He's going to be determined. He's not the kind of player to me that will have any different level of determination or motivation than if he was locked up. I mean, I think he's playing against the legends in his eyes. I mean, he wants to compare himself. I mean, he truly believes that he can be one of the best players of all time. And you might be watching this thinking, you're crazy for saying that. I don't fault a player for having that belief. And he has some intangibles and some skills that will give him an opportunity if things went right. And if this is the opportunity that he's waiting for. So I was watching, I don't even know. I mean, it could have been a mutual decision. We'll see if Rick Carlisle or even some of the front office members, if they decide to address the situation. It's not unheard of for a lottery pick to not agree to terms. It's not like those deals with, your second year options picked up, your third year options picked up. And when those aren't picked up, the writing's on the wall. Think back to Solomon Hill. It's not that situation. I mean, they still own his rights. And as a restricted free agent, they could match whatever anybody offers. To me, it just gives them a little more flexibility as they go into a year with, let's face it, you could probably have Benn's agent and him in the room and say, we love you. Everything about you. You're going to get a great opportunity, but we don't know what's going to happen this year. I mean, don't you think that makes sense? I mean,
yeah.
If you're going to make a trade, which the Pacers have done a great job with trades over the years. I mean, think about Pascal Siakam. Where would they be without that trade? Tyrese Halliburton. Where would they be without that trade? You got to give up something to get something. So if there is some opportunity out there and it happens in January or February, I don't know if that opportunity is made easier by someone being committed and signed to a new deal or being a restricted free agent. And I'm not saying that if you made a deal, it has to be done with Benn Mathurin, but you could look at 3 guys probably on your roster that if you were in need of, a legitimate player to make a deal, he would probably be one of them. So I think I'm guessing he's fine with it. I don't think it's going to be any of this like, I'm mad at the Pacers and I'm going to show them. I think he's out to show the world that he is great, and I can't wait to watch him.
Aaron Nesmith is someone that has been extension eligible as well. Do you think there's a scenario that Indiana can retain both of them while still needing to address the center position? Do you think it could come down to ever, one or the other? Or do you think this is, hey, you know what, this is a really good problem to have because these are 2 players that are going to take on bigger roles that can produce more? And I think in the end, Indiana can, address this later on.
Well, let's throw it back to you. What do you think, a year from now when Tyrese Halliburton comes back, you think Ben and Aaron either one of them would be cool with not starting?
That's the thing. I think that if you're
absolutely not, JJ, to answer your question. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's an off-season question now, as much as I think everybody's in it for the team and winning, you'd assume Ben's going to have a really good year. He's not going to be in a position to say, okay, I'm cool. I want to go back to being a sixth man. Because Tyrese Halliburton's not playing this year, it's kind of a pleasant problem where you push the potential issue down the road until this upcoming offseason. And that's why flexibility is probably important. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I love Aaron Nesmith, right? I mean, everything about him. And I love Benn Mathurin. So I don't want anything I say on this podcast to say, well, that's your three moving forward, or this is your three moving forward. But a year ago at this time, I didn't know if Andrew Nembhard might be best suited to be your backup point guard long term. I don't know, man. I don't know that there's a scenario where he's not starting for you, right? Like he has that much value, especially defensively, and especially also when teams defend Tyrese Halliburton a certain way, that you've got to have Andrew Nembhard. So if those are two of your players, there's only one extra spot. So I don't know. Now there's always injuries. So of your top six guys, you're probably going to get a chance to start more often than not because someone may always be injured. These are why front office folks get the big bucks. They can address this next offseason.
So what you're saying, JJ, is that one of these two, Mathurin or Nesmith, won't be on the roster next year, and we're gonna
don't blow that quote out. And I don't need you. I know sometimes you don't need to like to search for clicks. I'm not saying that, but it is something to think about. You're trying to be the best you can this year, but I don't think I'm speaking out of turn saying next year is your next championship window, and if everyone's healthy, who starts?
Well, and I think it just kind of goes back to what we're seeing with Golden State, with what took place all offseason, along with Jonathan Kuminga. Like Jonathan Kuminga is a high draft pick, drafted 6 overall, believes that he has a bit of a limitation, a bit of a lowered ceiling with Golden State and where he fits in with their roster. And there was nobody out there to sign him. And I think next year you'll see more teams have that flexibility of money to go out there and make an offer. And with Mathurin, the good thing is he is restricted, so you can kind of control what happens from your standpoint, where what happened in this offseason where Myles Turner just kind of left you high and dry. You didn't have a choice. So I think the Pacers do have control over that, and that could be an interesting thing to watch. But, they're both really good players, and they've been huge for this team's success. But it's like when you're trying to compare the two, it's like everything always comes back to me, who fits the best with Tyrese Halliburton. And I think at the end of the day, that's how this front office has to operate. They have to make the moves that best suit the play style of Tyrese Halliburton, and I think that's how they make their decisions moving forward.
And I thought about Aaron Nesmith last week when Malcolm Brogdon, announced his retirement, and think back to that deal. And did you think much of Aaron Nesmith at the time? So that's why I'll probably, when it comes right down to it, I'll trust this front office, whatever decision they make, especially when it comes to trades. I mean, they've done such a good job in sort of going after some of those guys. Maybe they didn't draft these guys. Look at how many guys are from the 2020 draft that they looked into. It was the COVID year, but they've had them on their team at some point, and a lot of them have been contributors. So, once the season starts, I get these questions, and they're really topical now because of the deadlines that had come up. Mm-hmm. But once you move past this, you got both those guys this year, and you can pretty much still next offseason do what you want with either one of them. And I'm not pushing either one of them out the door. They've been good to me, and I love the way they play. The attitudes that both of those guys have, along with Nembhard and Siakam. I mean, you think about what those guys, they just have to be, so anxious hearing people count them out, hearing people say it's a gap year, hearing people say lucky to be a play-in team. They're all going to say, I'll show you. And so I can't wait to see them show everyone else. And then you'll have to make some different decisions maybe in June.
Yeah, you brought up Pascal Siakam, and I think that's a guy that right now where the Pacers are beyond lucky to have, because I think he's going to shoulder the load, and I think he's looked really good in preseason. He's looked a little bit more aggressive. Do you feel that we're going to get a more aggressive Pascal Siakam this season looking for his shot? Because if so, I think that could really pay dividends for this team.
He was, relied on a lot in Toronto. Comes to the Pacers relied on him, but they didn't need him to be quite the scorer. Now he has to look around and say, Tyrese Halliburton scoring and Myles Turner scoring is gone. Mathurin maybe comes in, plays more, starts more. But there are shots and there are opportunities. And this team, it's not going to play slow. I don't know that they'll play as fast as they did last season. Might be almost impossible to do that. but they're not going to try to win games like the Pistons. I mean, I don't even know. Pistons may play faster, than this year, but I still feel like there's a style of, 100 to 95 that's not really the Pacers style. Long-winded way of saying Pascal Siakam is more than capable of taking those 5 to 8 extra shots. Never worried about his conditioning or being ready to go, and his durability. I mean, I'm knocking on anything I can knock on. Like, that is very admirable. His show up to play mentality. My computer went haywire from all my knocking, but it's like I'm like you. Where would this team be without Pascal Siakam going into this season? They wouldn't have been in the NBA Finals, I don't think, last season without him.
No
He's
way.
been spectacular. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, the success of this team, it all kind of hinges on what Pascal brought to this team. And I know Tyrese obviously is the guy that hit the big shots and things like that, but you don't get there without Pascal's defense or offense, and he carries so much on both ends of the floor. And then
he has a ring also.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
he could have got a second
experiences. Yeah, I know. But I mean, even just before this group had that experience, he kind of told them, hey, this is how it could be done. The run the season before, how quickly he accepted a leadership role on a team that he didn't know guys at all, hardly. I mean, I think he knew Andrew pretty well. They share an agent, but spent some time together in Canada, maybe Ben a little bit, but he didn't know a lot of people. And he quickly developed that relationship and synergy with, Tyrese Halliburton, and let's be honest, with Myles Turner, and that team just took off.
Yeah, and I will just say, like, that is what Tyrese is capable of doing with anybody he plays with, is just figuring out their tendencies, what they do well, and that's what's so exciting about the future of this team. Even though this year it seems like what are we going to expect? We don't know yet. But I'm curious your thoughts heading into Thursday night against OKC, the world champs. They're pretty much fully loaded besides J-Dub injury. He'll be out for a while, but the Pacers obviously have about 5-6 guys banged up. What are you kind of expecting in that home opener, especially against one of the top teams in the league?
I will admit, when the schedule came out, I wasn't exactly thrilled with the NBA. What did you guys think?
Didn't love it, but I thought if we had McConnell, we could maybe have like a revenge game. Like the crowd's going to be into it. I thought McConnell and the guys are going to be like, we should have won Game 7. We're going to get our revenge. And then now that we're without a backup point guard and it's a combination of Ben Shepherd, Taylor Peter, I'm just like, let's just be competitive. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
The only thing from a schedule perspective is, they're going to be amped up for their opener. Yeah. So the counter of, okay, they've got a game under their belt, to do they have a little bit of all right, they were not going to lose their banner raising night, then they go on the road, and the Pacers do have that motivation of, the team that beat you. You're going to celebrate last season, aren't you, before the game? Aren't you going to do something? I mean, I don't know all the details, but it just kind of stinks to me that the team that beat you is going to stand in the other corner. Keep them back in the locker room. And I admit I'm actually...
Do they raise a banner?
I don't know. I don't know any details, but there has to be something. Like, when you have a season like you did, you don't celebrate like you won a championship, but you also don't treat it like you won a first-round series only. I mean, to me. So there will be some memento, something, I'm sure, that's done before the game. And I just don't love the team that beat you standing right there, especially with all the, all the things that went into play. And, you played them in the preseason also. Like, I'm actually kind of sick of them, to be honest.
Summer League. Like, it's
Yeah.
we're playing OKC every 3 games, it feels like.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Get rid of after Thursday. I mean, like, see you guys later. And the February game or January game, I think it's a national TV exclusive. So I may not even be in Oklahoma City. So.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think they wait to raise the banner until they play the Bucks so Myles can be a part of the celebration? I know they're probably a little bit sad about it, but like, just to like kind of rub it in the Bucks' face too. Like, yeah, we beat you guys twice in a row.
Yeah, that's why I'm not in game operations. I think that Myles Turner dynamic is a whole nother one that you we probably won't podcast before that. What do you think it's going to be like in there?
Facci?
I think they're going to give it to him. I mean, you got to remember, like, when Paul George made his return to Indiana, he got heckled. He really did. And I think for Turner, I mean, you could say, I think if it wasn't for the comments that have been kind of out of left field and things like that, it might not be that bad. I think now people are going to want to probably hand it to him a bit. I think people will be a little bit divided, but like, there was some misinterpreted comments, I would probably say, to put it nicely, that rubbed some people wrong.
Alex?
I definitely think that he's trying to backtrack a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You know, he said, "Oh, I was not talking about the fans or the city." It's like, you can't say everything that you said. You threw your teammates under the bus. You said your team was an up and coming team with Pascal Siakam on the roster. So I don't think. Here's what I'll say: I know Myles, and I know how Myles talks to the media. He was talking to Bucks fans. He wasn't talking to Pacer fans when he was making these comments, and so I think that he just didn't really think everything through. We've seen it before. There's been times where, I've had conversations with different people that have been upset with how he handled stuff on the Woj pod or different things like that when he's made appearances while still a member of the Pacers. And so sometimes Myles, he does get in his feelings a little bit, I'm not going to lie. And I can understand why he probably felt a little bit slighted by the front office, maybe not offering or giving him the contract offer he felt he deserves. So I don't, necessarily feel bad against him for that. But I do think that what kind of set me off was all the comments about a city that loves me and all the things like that. Finally, someone that embraces me, it's cool, man. Congratulations, you're on Milwaukee and you're in a team that you like and whatever. But let's be real, you're not excited about the roster as much as you are the paycheck. So,
yeah, to me, it took 4 things to make the setup what it probably will be. It took going to the hated rival. It took not giving, reportedly, the Pacers a chance to match that offer. Then it took probably 2 or 3 of these media sessions that has, hurt the Pacers fans' feelings. Now, I agree with you that I know what he meant, but also I know I don't necessarily say that he's being misquoted. I don't know. What I feel like is this. I could understand some of the past anger towards Paul George with how that one went down. And I don't think Myles Turner deserves in this situation at this time to be put in that category. And what I really want is, after the venom goes away, people to really appreciate what he did. How many players, 10 years? It's crazy, right? No one even stays with one team their whole career. So are you only supposed to cheer for the ones that retire in your uniform? Eventually they go to another uniform. But there's just some strong, strong feelings. And so I know people that I've talked to, that's the game they want to go see. So we'll see. And I know he is someone that cares about what people say and feel and do. So I don't feel great about it being this, booze raining down. I don't know if that's the look necessarily that we should be going for, but I'm not going to tell fans what to do. So I have some mixed emotions.
I think the first time is going to be the one where after that people get it out of their system a bit.
But to me, after that, then he's another player. But the first time is when you actually want to be thanks for what you did.
I'm with you on that. I think fans will grow to appreciate things over time, but I think
this season they will, Facci. They'll be like, man, I really miss Myles Turner, and my "don't take Myles Turner for granted" tweets will actually mean something a little bit more to these fans. But I just,
even just what you said about the tweets, how many people last year were mad the Pacers had Myles Turner? What, a 5% of the audience? Just because those people randomly call JMV or, post a tweet that gets spread a little bit. Most people love Myles Turner and appreciate having him. So that's what I hope he feels. And I hope he understands this, that if there are a lot of booze and negativity in that game, maybe he kind of contributed to it by the way he left. And then, you know what? Forget about that. All those people that came to those finals games that sat on the front row, then none of them played 10 years for the Pacers. A couple of them maybe. I don't know how long Dale Davis and his stints, but 10 years means something. And so you cheered for all those guys. Some of them went on to play for other teams. I hope that team last year, because of how special it was, 20 years from now, 25 years from now, they can all come back and be celebrated. And I think they will. It's just the wound's still a little fresh right now.
Time heals all wounds. I think it'll take some time. It's just so fresh that it's we still got the Band-Aid on it. It's right now we're hoping it heals. But for right now, I think it's just such a fresh wound.
Well, and I think Facci too, just think about this. The Pacers were a half away from winning the NBA Finals. And so fans were still emotional just because of Tyrese going down the way that he went down and like feeling that they didn't get a really full chance to see this play through. And then all of a sudden the front office tells the fans, hey, we were willing to go into the tax. We were going to bring him and Isaiah Jackson back. Like that was the plan. He didn't give us a chance to offer. And then he goes to your biggest rival. I think if he would have gone to Toronto, if he would have gone to Brooklyn, if he would have gone, out west to Phoenix, like I don't think fans would be upset as much as they are now. I think because he's in Milwaukee, it is just like, oh, you traitor.
And what was the thing you first thought? Like, I don't know if I've shared this story with you. I think I maybe did with Pat, but like I was on a cruise. I had limited internet. It was in and out. I did it on purpose. I didn't want to be on my phone for that week. Just like our little 4 or 5 day family vacation that we could squeeze in the summertime. And all of a sudden, like the internet worked and it popped up and I kind of did a double take. But when I heard it was the Bucks, that's what really like got me. Because and you know what? To me, that's not the worst thing in the world because I love that there is this rivalry right there. Lillard moving on, honestly, probably makes it a little bit less because I think that there was a lot of the rivalry was Lillard and yeah.
Ty.
And so he moves on, but now the rivalry's even ramped up that much more.
Yeah, it's interesting, JJ. So I don't know if you heard our last conversation that we did with Chris Scenario on this podcast, but we're adding a segment at the end of each one of our interviews that we do, unless we are limited with time, which was the case last week with Eddie Gill. But we're doing a get to know your guest segment. So Facci and I are going to go back and forth, ask you 4 questions. Maybe they're basketball related, but they're not Pacer specific related necessarily. Might just be about your life. So buckle up. We're putting you on the hot seat. If you don't want to answer, you can just say pass. But we'll go with an easy one to kind of get you.
Were you easy to Chris?
We were definitely easy to Chris. I set up Chris very well, talked about him and his wife and being high school sweethearts. Like it was easy, okay? I know Chris loves to talk about that and Wabash winning a championship. Like I know what Chris likes, okay? So
and his mulching.
I didn't bring up the mulching.
We didn't get there, but it sounds like we could have got him talking.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have him back on. We'll ask more questions. But my first question for you is, what was your first game covering the Pacers as a sideline reporter? And do you remember who your first interview was with?
That is a good question. So I do actually remember. So I've not worked preseason games for the last 11 seasons. For whatever reason, like I say, networks make decisions. We don't do pregame shows. We don't do postgame shows. A lot of team sideline reporters will work. It makes sense to me that I'd work because the game's not as consequential and I could tell stories during the game. But for whatever reason, I've not been working the 2 preseason games that the network has broadcast, except for the first year. And I think it was probably meant to just give me an opportunity to kind of, not be nervous, have a practice game. Oddly enough, it was at Xavier University. So it was and I don't even necessarily remember who the Pacers played, but what was significant was that it was David West going back to Xavier and actually drove with Chris and Quinn, I believe, to Cincinnati. And we had to do a function in the afternoon where we helped donate some supplies and food to a local food bank. And then we drove over to the game. So it was totally different than any other game I've experienced. There was no pregame show, so I had a little bit of different prep, but I was nervous as could be going to Cincinnati. We had a new producer. Everything was new. I can remember walking into the arena, and of course, that's not an NBA arena, so there are some technical things that they're not quite equipped to do what we do. And I was like, it was like I would probably not been that nervous. And then, I had to do the pregame interview with Frank Vogel. We didn't even have a place to do it. We were like standing by a Pepsi machine. And I was like, and I was probably as nervous as I've been doing like the taped interview, and once the game started and when you're doing a couple live shots, it worked. And then at halftime, I pitched Chris Mack, who was the Xavier coach, who had coached David West, interviewed him at halftime, and he was really cool. So to me, that made it great. I don't remember winning or losing necessarily. I feel like I might have even interviewed David West in a walk-off interview, but that was the first game. It took me a second to think about it, but it all fits into place.
Yeah.
Down memory lane. That's a good story right there.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, did you play high school basketball at all? And if so, how would you describe your game? Like, do we have a JJ player comp?
Yeah, absolutely played high school basketball. My dad was a high school coach, much like Chris's dad. He has talked a lot about his. Maybe I hadn't as much, but my dad was a JV coach for Peru when I was growing up, and then got out of it when I was in sort of the ages he wanted to be around more. Was a varsity coach when I was in eighth grade, and I actually went to the county school. So then moved into Peru. So eighth, ninth, and 10th, he was the school's varsity coach, and I was on the team. Half JV, half varsity my sophomore year. Things didn't work out. Stayed in Peru, though. He still was teaching, different coach, junior, senior year. I was able to start pretty much most of my junior and senior year. We had a good group who'd played together for a long time. I was a 4/5 man. I like to think that I was a little bit of
JJ, I'm gonna interrupt you. We got breaking news.
Oh, great.
We got breaking
news. Is it good? Is it good news?
Good. Aaron Nesmith has agreed to a 2-year, $40.4 million contract extension with the franchise through the 2028-2029 season, plus a trade kicker agent. Mike Lindemann of Excel Sports Management tells ESPN Pacers give Nesmith the max allowed salary via extension.
All right.
Look at that. Yeah, well, let's clap it up for that, because
I wasn't sure of the deadline when you asked me. I thought it was midnight, right?
That's what I thought too. Yeah, it was midnight. Mathurin's was 5 p.m.
Yeah, right. So I knew this was like one of those where, kind of jumped the gun a little bit of, all right, it's probably not going to happen as we're recording this at 10 p.m. at night, but good things come to those who wait, and for them to give him the max amount that they could shows we value you.
Like I didn't mean to interrupt you. I felt bad, but I had to do it.
Well, that's all right. No, I'm glad you did. And I remember when Aaron Nesmith signed the last contract, and think about where he was and what people thought of him at that point. And I remember either he had been upstairs in Kevin or Chad's office, and then, he was smiling, he went through practice, and then came over and talked to everyone about it. And what a great deal that was. But like at the time, I remembered thinking, man, you got to feel good for Aaron Nesmith. He was, you didn't know how long his career was going to be. And I think at the time you were like it was 330, right? With maybe an option. I don't know how the fourth was, but he was getting about, wasn't it like 10 million a year?
33, I think it was. It was like $11 million a year average, but yeah.
Which is nothing in the NBA terms, but still I can remember having the conversation with maybe Pat standing there being like, dude, his kids are going to be set up and their kids probably, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then now look what he's done with that.
Unbelievable.
So, that is awesome. And he is he may not be like the, most talkative player that I've ever been around, but he genuinely is one of the nicest players that I've ever been around. He's the guy that, when I'm at the scrambled egg line at breakfast, that I'll have a great conversation with, and he actually will search me out and want to give me a high five or something. So I love Aaron Nesmith. I love everything he's meant to this team. And I was not an Aaron Nesmith clone as a high school player. I like to be tough, but I couldn't shoot like Aaron Nesmith. Thad Young may be more my style.
Hey,
yeah.
That was by all Pacer fans, so we'll gladly take that.
Good rebounder, good passer, maybe even more of a passer than Thad was. Get a lot of putbacks. My form, okay, I could shoot, but I wasn't making a living outside the arc.
And that's all right. That's all right. That's why we have outside shooters and we have inside scorers. We just got to have all different rules.
This is actually funny, though. Passing was probably my strength, and I played a little point guard in junior high. They used to call me Sabonis, and it wasn't Domas. Because I could get the ball at the top of the post, and I could make some fancy passes. So in pickup games, I was sometimes called Sabonis, but
Arvydas comp. Look, they saw a lot in you back then, because that's big.
Maybe that meant I was slow. I don't know.
I don't know.
You made up for it with your passing. That's all right. That's all right. All right, let's get off the court here a little bit and let's talk about music. JJ, what is your favorite genre of music, and do you have a favorite band / song?
Well, if I'm listening to music, it means I'm not listening to setting the pace. So,
we only have about 45-minute episodes, so we know we got time to kill throughout the day.
We love to put you to sleep. You know that, right?
What do you listen to while you're working out? Because we can't keep you awake, obviously.
I would revert back to, I actually listen to podcasts when I'm working out too. But when I hear AC/DC, it reminds me of the high school workouts. Our strength coach, shout out Terry Wagner. No chance he's actually listening, but he was always playing AC/DC in the weight room. So whenever I hear that, I immediately go back to days that I also wasn't like, not that great in the weight room. So there were times I didn't actually want to be in there. But when I hear that music, it gets me fired up. I guess I'm a creature of where I'm from. Like I like the 90s music, even going back to the 80s, certain songs. My probably the best motivational song for me is Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson. That gets me motivated, make that change. I will give a shout out to anyone that listens to this podcast that may have seen me perform Man in the Mirror, because there are some random little spots, fraternity house in DePaul, a couple of them at Ball State, my wedding reception. There's been a couple recent, although I've lost my touch with it a little bit. But when the time is right, Man in the Mirror, I can do a pretty good performance. I get all the words sometimes. I can get a little off track, but if there's a mirror nearby, I'll grab that mirror off the wall and I'll make you make that change. So that's my song.
I love it. We're gonna have to get ourselves on some of that film.
Yeah. No, that's the best part. There was no film of any of these. I mean, maybe my wedding, 2000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
even 2004, there weren't camera phones, right?
Someone had to have had like a handheld.
Can we get a little? Can we get a little like preview of Man in the Mirror on Setting the Pace here at the end of the podcast? JJ, this is tough for you, man. I know you want to do it.
This is a peach seltzer water, so I'm not sure this is what I need a little bit of external factors to just kind of get me there.
All right, I hear you on that.
Give us a little lower version. Like you don't have to sing the high pitch part. Just
set the stage for you one day.
Well, you're play it for me then.
I can't play it for you on here. It's gonna mess up the Zoom. And
all right, let's table this till the next appearance.
We will. We'll rain check. Last question.
But I do. And someone should reply. Anybody seen Man in the Mirror? I'd like to know who you are.
All right. Last question for you. Who was your hero growing up? What advice did they give you? And did you ever get to meet this person?
I wouldn't say like just one hero. I mean, my sports hero was Eric Davis. I was a big Reds fan.
I'd ask if you ever met.
Oh no, yeah. I never actually met Eric Davis. And that's the crazy thing is that if I did, I would probably be as in awe of that as anything, right? It's like
me and Jermaine O'Neal. It was crazy. I was fangirling. That is my hero. So
I mean, the first time I had to interview Larry Bird or like set up an interview, like I remembered freaking out, and it wasn't like I was like that he was my hero, but I had that ultimate sort of respect for him. So I had, one of those same feelings about, wow, this is Larry Bird. But Eric Davis, the best part was that tickets went on sale for the playoffs. Back then, you used to have to keep hitting redial, and I did it for like 4 straight hours. And then we were getting ready to leave, and they're like, one more time. And all of a sudden, it rang, and I got through, and we won the lottery to get tickets or I got through to tickets for the NLCS series against the Pirates. And I couldn't go to the first 2 games, but I knew if they went to a game 6, I was going to be able to go. And so it was like the bad thing, I was rooting against them in game 5, so the series could extend to game 6. But then it did happen, and got to make a great memory. And yeah, to be 12 years old and your team win the World Series, like that's pretty cool. And especially when they haven't really done anything since. I know I hit the sweet spot, and that's where we're living right now. If you're a kid right now in Indiana, I mean, I know you're not in Indiana, but like Colts, IU football, Purdue basketball, Pacers, Fever. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than this.
I'll stick with you for life. And that's what I was saying before of like how important that finals run is you made new fans for life. No matter what there's a certain age group that all you need to see was this and say like, you know what, I saw the Pacers go to the NBA finals and right then and there, I knew they were my favorite team. And I think what we just saw, a lot of people look back fondly on those back-to-back conference finals teams from over a decade ago. Like the generations they get older and older, and like, we're going to have so many fans that gravitated to what we just saw that they tell their kids there, and it goes on. So I thought that was good.
My first favorite Pacer was Detlef Schrempf, and along the same lines, probably 2014 or 15, he's back in the field house and he was signing autographs for, there was some initiative. I don't know if he was trying to promote Seattle basketball, but he was back. And I just went up and I was like, hey, you're my favorite player. I had the Detlef Shrimp, the little big head and little body jerseys or T-shirts that they used to sell.
Yeah.
That was my favorite shirt. So I was like, the teams got better sort of after he left. So that wasn't maybe my favorite team, but I can remember somehow being fascinated with Detlef Shrimp.
It's funny you say that the Pacers traded an initials of DS, a foreign player, to another team, and they got better, and they traded Domantas Sabonis, a DS, to another team, and eventually got better after. So it is kind of interesting parallels that you bring up there, about 20 years apart if you think about it. But I will just say, JJ, we've talked about the Facci curse a lot on this podcast as we close things out. The curse has been reversed. He broke it game 1 against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. He was at game 3 for Pacers Thunder in the NBA Finals, and he's a big Denver Broncos fan, and they were down 19-0 heading into the fourth quarter on Sunday, outscored the Giants 33-32 at the end of the game. I mean, the Facci curse reverse is probably one of the most fascinating things I've seen in sports history.
So here's the deal, Facci, and this is what I want you to start. I tweeted it out a little bit when these amazing things were happening. Here's the way you have to approach this. Now you say believable. I don't know if I've shared this story with you. My dad and I go back and forth on text. We're always saying believable. And the story goes back to Brad Stevens' second Final Four run, Elite Eight game against Florida. It truly was another unbelievable win, and unbelievable that school in that situation was going back to the Final Four. Jeff Goodman, I'm standing with 6 reporters on the court, and he didn't even have a question. He's just he was sort of in awe of it all. And he's like, dude, Brad, how unbelievable is this? And without even blinking, Brad's like, well, I prefer the word believable. It's a much more positive word. And as I thought about it, it's if you actually believe, it's actually believable if you knew that team. And so Facci, it's believable, right? I mean, you had to know the Broncos were going to come back and win, right? You just believe. It's not unbelievable. It's believable.
Believe.
Great point. It really. I just think it took that type of dire situation of Aaron Nesmith hitting those 5 threes in the fourth quarter and Halliburton hitting that shot to drag me and this curse out of it. And now we're on to good times. I feel like I'm the modern day rabbit's foot right now. I am good luck. Get me in the building. Good things.
I want an image because I have the image forever ingrained in my head of what my basement was like when that was happening. What was your row like? Were you with another Pacers fan?
No, I was one of 4 or 5 in the building.
It was by yourself at the game. You got a single ticket?
No. I was with my friend who's a Knicks fan.
Okay.
I mean, I was getting heckled. Someone had their foam finger rubbing the back of my head. They were just
if you'd have been out in the alley, you would have gotten accosted, and then you would have gotten a free trip to Andy.
Probably, yeah. They would have flew me out. The other guy had it pretty good. I just got heckled, but I got the win in the end. So you know what? I can't really complain. But yeah, no, life is good. I gotta get out to the arena a little bit more because this streak, it's running up.
Oh, keep it going. Well, why don't you just come in on Thursday? Because it'd be nice to start 1-0.
Really would.
I mean, at this point, isn't setting the pace like printing money? Shouldn't there be a travel budget?
It's good times. We're on good times. We're trending upwards. We'll say
we haven't taken a break for ads. You just put them in on your own. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the works with some stuff. Let's just keep it that way. There's potential that we could be getting some stuff. Maybe some watch parties in the future, JJ, at a Pacers game.
Nice.
So
that'd be good.
You never know.
So is he gonna fly in for those?
I just might.
Why don't you just move to Indiana? Why do you live in New York or New Jersey or wherever you live?
New York. Don't put that jersey on me. But I think
he's a Mets fan. What can we say?
Hey, look, I like my Mets, but yeah, look, I think for now, JJ, as we hop off, give us one positive thing as we head into the regular season. The vibes, they've been a little iffy. Preseason's done with, summer league's done with. Aaron Nesmith, he's extended. I think that's a sign that good vibes are ahead. What do you got for us as we head into the regular season?
So tonight I was MC of an event that the ushers, the part-time staff, Levy, a lot of people who really make Pacers games what they are, make them special. it's meant to get them excited for the season. You tell them some of the news of the company, different things going on, different people are speaking. So that got me excited and fired up. But I walked into the media room just to take a break tonight, and they were showing NBA TV on one of the TVs, and it happened to be NBA Today, Justin Termini, Eddie Johnson. And right when I walk in the room, they're doing their awards picks, and it was who's going to be the most improved player award. This is not on a team, but this is for the entire league. Termini, and I need to check the picture because I tweeted out. One of them says Nembhard, the other one says Mathurin. I think Termini said Nembhard, Eddie Johnson said Mathurin. So to me, that's a good sign. Now, I don't think this team needs the endorsement from outside media, but those that know. And I do respect those guys for paying attention. Termini's done a really good job. And I was actually able to be a guest on their show during the NBA Finals. But I walked in, and I thought that was kind of fitting when I walked in and I saw that. And I'm like, if anything, a case can be made if there's a really good year, those two guys might split the vote. My counter, and we talked about this on our podcast, Andrew Nembhard had a really good year last year. I don't even think Benn Mathurin had a bad year. So sometimes I think you got to have a bigger improvement to win that award. But I think it's the role that changes, which will get people to consider him. But I thought that was a good sign. And I like you guys have said, I was impressed watching the starters play. So I think they're going to bring a lot of toughness. The schedule is going to do him no favors early on. But I like what they're made of, and I can't wait to watch them play.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And we're finishing this episode strong, just like the Pacers are going to finish this upcoming season strong. So, JJ, thank you so much for coming on, setting the pace. Once again, we'll have to get you back on soon so we can hear you sing Man in the Mirror.
Make that change.
There you go. With that being said, Pacer Nation, we will talk to y'all tomorrow.